Good evening all. From a 5-0 defeat at Manchester City to a 6-0 home win over Bournemouth. Just what the doctor ordered, the joy of six, all the cliches you want to throw at it. How spoiled are we that only, 5 months or so since the 7-0 thrashing of Huddersfield, we've seen a 6-0 at Carrow Road. Great fun for the 20,000, just over 20,000 that were here tonight. Maybe getting wet on the way from the stadium because it's been pouring down with rain most of the second half, but lots of Norwich players making a claim for places in the Premier League starting 11. And that's what tonight was all about, wasn't it? 100%. If they could lay down a marker and show Daniel Farke what they're capable of. Daniel made 10 changes to the team. The only player remaining in the starting lineup was Lucas Rupp, who of course was taken off at half-time in that nightmare Saturday afternoon at the Etihad. We won't be going over that again too much. Hopefully we won't have to reflect too much on those two opening games of the season, but we will not truly learn what tonight has meant until we see more of Norwich in the Premier League, of course. Bournemouth made 8 changes tonight. They went with a pretty young team. Scott Parker didn't have players like Philip Billing, Junior Stanislas. He didn't play Gary Cahill. He did play Orjan Neeland, who of course was with Norwich last year, but didn't actually make an appearance. Dominic Solanke, they weren't even in the squad tonight. So, yeah, if they now go and put in a good performance against Leicester, get a point, or even better, a win, of course, then great. This will be a starting point. But until we see what this game truly means, I don't think we can get too excited because Bournemouth were pretty poor, and Norwich truly put them to the sword. They outclassed them. It was almost as much of a mismatch as Saturday was in the other direction. Norwich were far, far too good. And it was a really, really enjoyable night. Daniel was doing his celebratory ways with all 4 sides of the ground. It was exactly what they needed, and it hopefully will give them the juice to build from here. But in the end, possession, Norwich had 49%, but for a lot of the first half, it was below 40%. They almost were quite happy for Bournemouth to have the ball, particularly in their own half, or when they had them at arm's length, essentially. They were then just hitting them really quickly on the counter. And the star of the show was really Christos Jolis, who's on his debut. He scored after 12 minutes. He ends the night with 2 goals and 2 assists. I mean, Daniel talked him up at the pre-match press conference, talking about that he is one of the best winger talents in Europe. Well, he looked very, very exciting tonight. Just gave Bournemouth a torrid time. And beyond the elements of wing play that you would expect to see from an exciting 19-year-old signed for big money, he also worked really hard and was strong. He had quite a low centre of gravity and was just really tenacious. He was going up for balls in the air and everything. He was loving it. It was a brilliant debut, a really, really memorable debut for Christos Solis. Norwich had 16 shots, 12 of them on target, considering on Saturday they had 1 shot at goal. This is literally from famine to feast. It's been really good fun. Bournemouth had 2 shots, 1 of them was on target. They should have got a consolation goal right at the end. Saidi, the substitute, came on, very nearly ruined Angus Gunn's night. He had very little to do, although there were some good bits of passing and possession play out the back. He a few times early doors particularly helped get Norwich out of a little awkward spot. He would have been furious, as you can imagine. That would have been that archetypal furious goalkeeper at the end of a heavy victory, losing his clean sheet. But thankfully that didn't happen, and it was 6-0. So just to quickly remind you of the team: Angus Gunn in goal. Barley Mumba gets the nod at right back. Brandon Williams, only signed yesterday on loan from Manchester United, goes straight in at left back. Very good. I'll come back to him shortly. I think he's probably one of the players who's played himself into the starting lineup against Leicester on Saturday. Christoph Zimmermann, Andrew Omobamidele in the middle of defence. Andrew, again, very good in possession, although there were a couple of times when he chose the wrong option. Zimbo had a pretty good game as well, but as we see more of Omobamidele, really, it's that he is more of a Farke player. If you're going to play a 3 at the back at the moment and you're going to have, say, Gibson, Hanley, and then one other, I would have thought Omobamidele is probably ahead of him and in the pecking order at the moment. just purely because he's better with the ball. But it was a pretty positive night for Zimbo tonight. Then Jacob Sorensen gets the nod as the defensive midfielder. Rupp to his right, McLean to his left. McLean gets my man of the match. As much as Jolis was brilliant, I thought McLean was outstanding and was really sort of the foundation that this victory was built on. Then Kieran Dow on the right, Josh Sargent through the middle, and Christos Jolis on the left. So I'll go with ratings nice and early. Jolis a 9. The only reason I'm not giving him a 10 is because of the opposition, really. I thought Bournemouth were quite pathetic at points, really, and Scott Parker didn't set them up anywhere near well enough to try and get through to the next round. If he produces anything close to that kind of a performance in the Premier League, he won't need 2 goals and 2 assists to get a 10, because if he can produce that kind of impact, even part of that kind of impact in the Premier League, it's going to mean a great deal, and we could have a bit of a star on our hands. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. And I'll give McLean a 9 as well. As I say, I thought he just edged the man of the match stakes because he was just excellent, and I think Kenny nailed on to be starting on Saturday. He came off in the 71st minute. Billy Gilmore came on, and I thought as much as anything that was a sign from Daniel. You've done enough. You're coming back from injury, so let's not take any more risks. You'll be starting on Saturday, and I think Lucas Rupp will probably drop out. But we've probably been expecting that would happen sooner or later anyway, haven't we? So that's no great surprise. I'll give Sargent and Brandon Williams both an 8, and everyone else I'll give a 7. There's a few in there who are verging on 8s, and Kieran Dow, when you're on top of a team, as we saw against Huddersfield earlier in the year, he thrives, doesn't he? We're probably still waiting to see whether he's a man to sort of dig in the trenches for you, but he was having fun at points and certainly was involved. Barley Mumba had some really good moments at times. Sorensen had a better second half, I'd say, or a more prominent second half. He's very reliable. He's a bit of steady Eddie, isn't he? And there were a few moments in the second half where he actually put his foot in, where he thwarted some attacks and he was in the right place, and that's encouraging. So I don't think Sorensen's probably done enough to lay claim to a starting place in the Premier League yet, but he should get another opportunity in the next round of this competition, the League Cup. The third round draw will be Wednesday night. So unless they get one of the maybe if they get one of the big boys, you'd think he'll get another opportunity to shine in there. And of course, the live blog at Pinkham.com, everyone was asking, is there a defensive midfielder coming? Is there another centre-back coming? I don't think tonight will be changing that. As exciting and enjoyable as it all is, we all know that there's a greater context to this result. So, I think they're fair enough. Yanulis came on in the 76th minute for Williams, and Brandon only arrived yesterday, didn't he? So that's probably as much as anything why. But personally, I think he did enough to keep Yanulis out of the team on Saturday. I thought it was really good. He did show that little tenacious streak that's been talked about, did look quite tough, but also looked really good going forward. His control, his touch was very good, attacking, and him and Jolis looked to strike up a pretty good relationship pretty quickly. So for me, Williams probably comes in, and the other one was Adam Eder, came on 77th minute for Rupp, and it certainly put himself about, and as I said, the rain was falling quite heavily at that point, and he set up Jolis for one late chance with some really good strength when Jolis probably could have made better contact. He came very close to getting his hat-trick twice. Sargent, we thought, had got his hat-trick. I just spoke to Josh, actually, and we'll have that interview up at Pinkham.com this evening, and he really thought that was in as well. At the Barclay end, everybody waiting to explode because that would have made it 7 and a hat-trick for the striker and stuff. And he first half was maybe a little bit quiet considering, but he was certainly linking up things, but he wasn't getting a great deal of sort of moments to shine. Second half, he was more involved and he was really enjoying himself, and he was a bit fortunate with the second goal, to be fair, but there was a lot of presence there. Whether he's done enough to get ahead of Pookie for Saturday, I'm not sure. We know how important Teemu Pukki is. We know how much Daniel Farke likes him and trusts him. Pookie now knows he's got someone breathing down his neck. So I still wouldn't be hugely surprised if Pookie starts, if he's still looking sharp and stuff in training against Leicester. But if it's not happening for him, Sargent will be on early in the second half. He is now pushing hard against that door, isn't he? And it'll be really interesting to see how he develops. Just to go through things very quickly, 12th minute, it was 1-0. McLean with a lovely raking pass into the left channel, outside of his boot almost, and Jolis manages to cut back onto his right, as he does so often, and makes good enough contact with it for the ball to deflect and spin over Orjan Nyland in the goal. At the river end in the first half, and that was 1-0. The 26th minute, it was 2, and it was Kenny McLean getting his first goal of the season. Kieran Dowell, nice play on the left, lovely sort of dinked ball out to Williams, gets the ball back. The crowd urge him to shoot, but he opts not to, squares it to McLean, takes the right option, who has got more space, and then a really good finish from Kenny, left-footed, powerful, into the top right corner on the day that he was recalled into the Scotland squad, despite the fact that, you know, he's not fully fit, maybe perhaps just yet. He's still working his way back from fitness, but Steve Clarke still thinks that he's done enough to be back in the Scotland squad alongside Billy Gilmore and Grant Hanley, as you would expect. And it was 3-0 at half time. The third came in the 34th minute. Lucas Rupp finally getting his first goal for Norwich, and it was a good strike as well, to be fair. McLean had sparked it. Jolis, again cutting onto his right, picked out Rupp near the penalty spot, and really good contact with it, and the ball sort of faded away from the keeper into the bottom right hand corner. So half time, everyone's happy, everyone's enjoying it, apart from Bournemouth and the about 250 supporters that were here with them. They had a miserable night, and you know, they actually lost a 2-0 lead against Blackpool at the weekend at home. They started off the season pretty well, but they ended up drawing 2-2, and then this has happened. So their fans are probably going to be a little bit worried about what's going on after so much encouragement early doors. Sargent gets his goal just 4 minutes into the second half. Dowell seized on a sort of strange loose pass, played McLean into the box, and Neelan makes a good save, to be fair, gets down to his left to deny McLean his second goal, and Sargent, with good instincts that you want your striker to have, following in at the back post, pokes home into a pretty much unguarded net for 4-0. 64th minute, and it was Sargent who was intercepting a Nyland pass out from the back, did well, worked hard, and then he squared it to Jolis, who still had plenty to do, but really raced onto it and thumped the ball low into the net at the Barclay end for 5-0, and he really enjoyed that moment. And then Jolis again, 75th minute, robs Chris Mepham, who'd come off the bench for Bournemouth, and unselfishly tees up Sargent, who just ends up sort of bundling it in. And he sort of joked that he's seen strikers getting sort of fortunate goals like that over the years, and thought, oh, that must be so nice to get goals like that. And I think in the end, it just sort of bounced off him and went in. And there was a little bit of fortune in that, and that made it 6-0. But a second goal for him, and we had the chance of USA again. And as I said a bit earlier, Sargent and Jolis both went very close to their hat-tricks. So, yeah, lots to enjoy tonight. But as I said at the top of the video, we can't get too excited about it until we see what this means for the rest of the season. We'll wait with interest to see what the tie will be in the third round and where that will fit into things. But for now, let's just enjoy it, because Saturday was pretty grim. Liverpool wasn't too bad, was it? Because we had positives to hold on to, and it was the first half particularly. There was some sort of positive signs, green shoots, as we said in the podcast. But tonight, a 6-0 win against Bournemouth in the second round of the League Cup. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the game in the comments below. Let us know who you think should be starting against Leicester, who really pushed their name into the frame. And of course, we'll have all the big match build up for you ahead of Saturday's game. Thanks for watching.